The mind's clear. Abanawa Shabashaman, Kadasha Yashimka. Our Father who's in heaven, set apart be your name. Total O great King, total O Most High, El Elyon, for all that you have done for me, all that you've done for us. Please forgive us for our sins, our transgressions, and our iniquity, and ask that you may open up our hearts so that we're able to receive your word. And I ask that you may please teach us what is right and what is wrong. Please teach us what is clean and what is unclean. And please be merciful when you judge us. Please lead us all in the path of righteousness for your name's sake. And I ask that you may be with us when we find ourselves in dark places on this earth. But I ask that wherever we are, that your light will always shine bright. And I ask that we will always have eyes to see your marvelous light. And I ask that we will always have ears to hear your precious word. And I want to say Torah for all that you have done for us and all that you will do in the future. And I ask that we would never be ungrateful for the things that you have done for us. For you are kind and loving Elohim, a merciful Elohim, and in you there is no sin, there is no crookedness. Please give us the strength to do what is right, even if it seems difficult. Please give us the strength to love one another. And ask that none of us will bear hatred within our heart. But if we do hate, let us hate sin, let us hate wickedness, let us hate all manner of evil. But give us the strength even to love those who may not be kind to us and those who may constantly disrespect us. But I ask that you may give us a heart like yours. And I ask that in due season that we all may be saved. I ask that we may all take this opportunity to grab hold on everlasting life. And ask that none of us will be drawn away or drunken with the pleasures of this life. But I ask that we will keep our hearts fixed on you. And ask that we will never cast your word aside. Please teach us how to be faithful because you have always been faithful to us. I ask that you may accept this tough of this prayer for being your will, for it is your will that shall be done. Blessed you are Yahweh, blessed is your name Yahweh, and blessed is he who comes in the mighty name of Yahweh. Amen, amen, Selah, so be it.
Yeah, amen, so be it. All right, we're gonna do our quick Hebrew reading for the moment. We're gonna call on Batsion first. Batsion already online? Can I see? She's not online.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, Batsion. Today I'm having you do it a little bit different today. So Mishpachah, we have to read from on screen in the room today. I left the Hebrew reader. So if you have your device, you can read from your screen, or you can come up here and read from screen. Batsion, today I want you to read Bereshit, or Genesis chapter 1. And as you're reading it, the words that you know, pretty much parse it out to the best of your ability as you go. Don't worry about what you don't know, but just the words that you do know. Pronounce those words out, say what they are in English, and give, just kind of go through the verse as best you can with the words you recognize for your vocabulary. I'm reading in Hebrew.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, I don't have a screen share. I thought I had a screen. I got it up on screen. I didn't put it on screen yet. Hold on, I'm sorry. All right.
Okay. Shabbat shalom, everyone. All praise to the Most High Yah, and acknowledging my Ish as my head covering. Bereshit, Ba means in. Rashit is beginning. So in beginning. Bara is to create. Elohim is many powers, or the greatest power. 8 is a pointer, kind of. It's talking about a subject. Ha-shamayim, ha means the. Shamayim is what we recognize as heaven. Wa 8, wa is a connector, so it's kind of like and 8 again pointing to, so Elohim is the object of it. And then ha-aretz, ha again is the, aretz is earth. Wa ha-aretz, again, wa is a connector, so completing or like transitioning from verse 1 to 2 is the wa, so and or now. Ha is the, aretz is earth. Ha.
Click out one second. Okay. Good reading, Koti. Where were you stopped at? You was at stop at from. Okay.
Do you want me to go to Hayata or?
Yes.
Okay. Hayata. I know Ha is the Yata. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay, so you had the right thought process, but what I want people to see is this is the reason why sometimes, even though it say this, the scribe's pen sometimes error. So when we write in Hebrew language and when it's being translated over, there's either something that could have been mistranslated, or when we're reading it ourselves, it'd be something that we don't yet understand without understanding of a word. So in Hebrew, there's going to be masculine and feminine form, and some words take on different forms. So right now, the sisters gotten to a point where she's not understanding what she's looking at, knowing that the ha is normally a direct object marker pointing to thee, but in this case, it's not thee. This is actually, that ha is a part of the word that's currently written, but that word now is written in a feminine form. So generally, the ta wouldn't be there. It would normally be hey, yod, hey. But the tav is now in the word hey, yo, hey, which is normally haya, which is to be or to exist, making it now feminine. So hayata.
Okay, so I'm sorry.
But you were doing good.
Okay, so then if it's hey, yo, hey, then that's to exist. So
right.
The was, I can see that being the was now, like past tense existing. Or okay, all right, Toda. Tohu. I can't remember. Tohu wabohu, I'm not sure. And then wa choshek, I know choshek is darkness, so and darkness. Al is on, and then panay is a face. And then tohu, again, that's a word I don't know. Wabo, wa ruach.
Look at this one again.
Oh, to home. I'm not sure. Wa ruach, and the spirit or breath or what have you. Elohim is again, we know as God, but many powers or the greatest power. Merachafet. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay.
I mean, I can guess, but I can't parse. Okay, I can't parse. Al again is on. Panay is the face. So on the face, and then Hamayim. Mayim is many waters or like a lot of waters, and Ha is the many waters or the waters. Wa Yomer, Wa is the connector. So it's connecting verse 2 to 3. And so it's and. Yomer is to speak. So it's a male speaking. The yod is like a masculine force. So and he spoke. And Elohim, again, many powers. So that's who's speaking. Yahi is to exist. Or is light. Wa Yahi. So Wa is and. So and existed or in came to be or in existing, or which is light.
Hallelujah. I pause it for 1 second. So if you look at this word here, Yahi, that she said, right? This is the exact same, well, not the exact same, but it comes from the exact same root as this word. Ha, hey, yod. I'm skipping this letter here. Hey, which is haya, is where we're getting all the was and existed from of some type, or the was existed. To exist come from hey, yod, hey, haya. So again, you can see why sometimes we pause when we're reading because we're trying to understand what we're seeing. If you don't know the morphology of a word, how the word changes form in different instances, then this right here looks like a totally different word or from a totally different place than this one, as well as this one. This looks like the same word. However, as she said, there's this conjunction on here, this connector on here that's connecting the thoughts. But yod, hey, yod is the same as this, but it looks different. So when we're reading in English, you understand, because you could say, and God said, you see each word individually, whereas in Hebrew, like when she said, Wayomer, she's seeing here that these two is making something happen to who is doing the speaking. So she's understanding that this is a masculine speaker, and this is connecting the thought from who is joint here from this verse to verse 3. So again, the reason why sometimes it may take us a little while to read Hebrew, because for one, we weren't culturally brought up doing this, and we're returning to culture. And when we're returning to culture, you know, then we have to be able to identify letters first and foremost. That's why we say work on your alphabet first and foremost. Then we learn the Nakud system of the vowel points, which we sometimes subscribe to or not, but for the sake of what we're teaching here, we're teaching what's commonly called the modern or biblical Hebrew. So we recognize these because you will find that in some places they're actually needed as far as helping you with the pronunciation of a word. So while she's reading all of this, she's trying to recognize root words. So like when she went to this one, better a sheep, she's recognizing Rosh here as the root word, or Rashit is a root, but this is a connector. So in the process of her reading this, she is identifying when a letter is a letter that's a prefix or either a suffix, the root word. She's trying to recognize these vowel points in order for her to be able to interpret everything she's interpreting now. So it's not an easy task, but it becomes much easier once it becomes custom and once you become the culture. So in order for us to be able to go into, and as she said, there's some words she don't know. So the words that she doesn't know, that's good right now, but there's so many words that she does know, so she can kind of feel her way through the text based upon her vocabulary at this time. But again, just like in English, our vocabulary, there's words we don't know. So something won't make sense to us until we actually know. So then we look up words that we don't know until we know the definition of said words. So she's doing all these things in this reading that she's doing now. And by the way, Coach, you're doing a very good job. So I'm give you one more verse for the sake of time. Verse 4.
Verse 4. Why yar or why yar? Again, wa is a nectar, and it's sit down. Thank you. It's saying and the yod is the yod. I don't know what the
Skip this one.
way. Okay.
I'll explain this one to you because it's actually a word here.
Okay.
Yeah, that is not the same as the other principle. So it's actually a word that's here.
Elohim, the greatest power. Et ha or the light. So pointing to the light. Ki is for, or yeah, it's like for good. So this is saying that Elohim is saying that or calling light good, is to be good. Wa Yavadel. And I'm not sure what that one is. Vadel. Okay. I think I know that one, but I don't want to guess. Elohim, the greatest power. Bane. I don't know. Haor is the light. Wabane.
Why is it the light? Explain it to him. Why
oh,
is it
I'm
the
sorry.
Light?
Ha is the, or is light. So the light. Bane. So is still a connector, but it's because it ends with the previous word ends with the resh, it makes a instead of a wa. And then bane, I'm not sure. I think I know, but I don't want to guess.
Okay.
Ha Hoshek. Hoshek is darkness, and Ha is the darkness.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Very good reading and very good parsing, Akoti. Very good reading, very good parsing it out. So that is so what she was doing, and I know Batsion, she likes to challenge sometimes. So instead of her just doing the same thing over and over, just reading, she's one is going to another level with her study somewhat. And it's not to knock anyone, because we're doing basic Hebrew, and then we want to get from basic to intermediate, and then we want to start advancing more and more. So I just want her to read and to challenge her mind a little bit. So you're seeing that she is able to go into the text and pretty much read a portion of Genesis. She's navigating her way through Genesis. And the reason why we do this is because we have translations, yes, but it would be good for us to really know what the word of the Most High says. And so now she can go into a concordance and she can look up certain words. She has vocabulary, or if someone says something that that she knows is not there, she would be able to identify because she's reading it for herself. And so that is the reason why I know some people are like, well, why are we going through all this? Because culturally, this was the language that the Most High gave Israel to speak. This is how things were communicated. And in the Apocrypha, it tells you things that's written in another language does not have the same effect or the same strength as the word of the Most High. Then there's certain things in English that can't even bring forth exactly the thought of Hebrew as far as how the Hebrew was intended for us to perceive something. Just for example, we have an abstract thought. An abstract thought leaves it to your imagination. I can pull it. It can be this, it can be that. But Hebrew is concrete, do or don't, yes or no. It's not all that in between. Well, I think I'm gonna do it this way today. No, the Most High is very concrete with the function of the Hebrew language. The Hebrew language is a very functional language. So that is the reason why we're studying to return to the set apart tongue. But again, Batzion, you did a Gadol Tov job. Gadol Tov, read. All right, Zamir, you up next. I'm just gonna let you read. Start with verse 5. Come forward so they can hear you in the room, they can hear you online. Start with verse 5. I just want you to read right now. Go from 5 to 10.
Wayikra Elohim La'or Yom Wala Koshek Kwara Laila Wayahi Areb Wayahi Bocher Yom Echad Wayomer Elohim Yehi Rakia Batok Hamayim Wihi Mabdil Bain Mayim La Mayim Waya As Elohim Et Harakia Wayabdil Bain Hamayim Asher Mitakat La Rakia Ubain Hamayim Asher Me'al La Rakia Wayihi Cain Wayikra Elohim La Rakia Shamayim Wayahi Ereb Wayahi Boker Yom Sheni Wayomer Elohim Yikawu Hamayim Mitakat Hashamayim El Mikwom Makwom
Join together. It's still
Makwom. Echad wa a red wa te ra e hayabasha wa yahi king wayikra Elohim la abadshah
look at it again.
La yabasha Eretz ulmik re
Look at that letter again.
ulmik we Hamayim Kwara Yamim Wayar Elohim Ki Tov.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Good reading, good reading, good reading. All praise to the Most High. All right, hallelujah. So as you see, Mr. Bakar, they're to the point where they're reading, and we have others that read, but for the sake of time, because I have another portion I'm going into today, we're just showing that, you know, we can achieve this. Now, we're not expecting the elders and some to actually get all the way into the language if that's not what they want to do, but we do want the next generation to come up with more information than we had. So the children can absorb much more, much faster than we can. The younger generation, Batzion is still much younger than the elders, so her mind is still able to interpret things really fast and to study things and to desire to want to. But just being in the room and listening, you still are going to pick up the vocabulary, whether you can read it or not. So whether a person can read it or not, just being in the class when we're doing our culture portion, listening to the others read and parse it out and explain it without even studying it sometime, you're going to pick up things. Just like everybody now knows hallelujah. Hallelujah means praise you, Yah. Everyone knows Shabbat Shalom. You know what I'm saying? We know Abba, we know Elohim, you know, there's certain words you know, and you know way more Hebrew than what you even know that you know, just from your time in the walk and hearing terms utilized. And so what happens for, and what encourages people such as Batsion and those who are reading, when they actually reading and start saying, I know that word, it gives a whole nother level of excitement and be like, oh, I want to learn more, because now I'm being able to identify words that we use in service, and now I can read this, and it's starting to be, it's an amazing feeling to you. So we do want to encourage everyone to participate. And like I said, we do not expect our elders to have to be trying to do exactly what the Yaladim are doing, but children, in this reboot that we're doing, this is just for the service portion. But there is going to be a second portion of a Hebrew class where it's going to be totally focused on Hebrew. All children in the room on deck. There's no more children coming in just being children. Children are going to be trained up in the way they should go. Therefore, when they depart, it will not depart from them. When they get old, it will not depart from them. So it's not just who wants to do it. If we're coming here, we come in for a purpose, and the children are the future. If no matter how long the future may be, that the Most High have us here on this earth, but we want all Yaladim to be getting into this. We're not doing, and it's not a knock to anybody, we're not doing the coloring and, you know, the coloring and just drawing on paper and wasting time like we do. Let the children go over to the room. No, let them get in. And more so, we want your participation even more than the older people, because we need y'all to get it. So y'all can grow up, because when it tells you to teach these things to your children, you're teaching them to your children, because we had to, even our forefathers had to learn some things on the fly. We are being born into, we are not born into this. We had to be converted into this from a mindset of being lost. But our children can be raised up in it, and they can have a much better grasp on the truth when they become our age, when they become young adults. They will already be reading, speaking, understanding from a Hebrew mindset and a Hebrew thought. And then when they teach others, their teaching will be much more, is proficient the right word? Yeah, much more proficient than my teaching, because they're going to be teaching from a place of, it's a part of them now, because I learned it, and this is now another language that I speak. I speak this language. I speak the tongue that the Most High called us to speak, right? So real quick before going forward, just about the language, I'm going to stop this screen share for a moment, because I want to touch on another cultural aspect. So one thing is that with the language, there's what's called the modern Hebrew, which has a modern script, which you see written in pretty much all the Torahs that we have today. That you have, you're going to see the modern script written. But then there's also what's called Paleo, which is considered the ancient Hebrew. So there's a big push in the community about the dialect that you speak. And you will have Hebrews, and I come up from a school of thought myself. I'm going to say it one more time. I come up from a school of thought myself that taught me a certain way. So when you learn things a certain way, you learn what they teach you, but you also learn behavior patterns of your teachers. So one thing that we want to try to do at True Light is in purging each year and having our resets each year, coming to unleavened bread and our growth, we want to purge out our mess, because our behavior patterns, our good and bad, end up becoming a part of each other. What I mean by that, so the school of thought that I came from, they taught that Hebrew had only one vowel. I'm not knocking that. I'm not knocking that. It only has one vowel, which is an A-class vowel. That is partially true. Most Hebrew words are 3-letter root words, and it's come from an A-class vowel root. When you go into any concordance, most Hebrew words you're going to see, they come forth from an A-class vowel root. That's the root form. But in order for me to say, bless you, I bless you, and you are blessed would be said 2 different ways. But if I just say, barakatah, barakatah, how can you determine what I said if I'm saying it the same way? Did I say, you are blessed, or blessed are you, or bless you? So if the root word barak is barak, blessed, if I say barakatah, I said, bless you. But if I say barukatah, barukatah Adonai, blessed is Elohim. You know what I'm saying? So barakah is blessings. So from the same root word, you know, you have the root word, which is A-class vowel. So that is a true statement. It's A-class. But what they do is they knock anyone that uses the modern form that has vowel sounds, and they've learned from the Nakud system, and they say that it's Yiddish. And so when you're taught that, you repeat that, right? When you're taught that, you repeat that. That's learned behavior because of preference. So what I will tell you over my years of being in the Hebrew community, we are big preference people. We are big preference people. And sometimes people's preference becomes their teaching, and this is what it is, when sometimes it's just a preference. And I want to tell you that we all have that. We are all like that. So what I try to do, because my grandfather told me when he found out I was bringing forth the word to people, he told me to be real, keep it real. The moment you can't be real, you need to sit down somewhere. Don't be like these preachers around here. So I would tell you, I have a preferred dialect that I use, a preferred dialect that I prefer, but I'm not even telling you that's the exact right dialect. Why? I never heard Moshe speaking. And the Most High did not come to me and say, and this is exactly the dialect. But from my years of study and from going between dialect and dialect, what I've seen is there's always a debate. There's always, it was this way and that way. You can go to all scholars and different Hebrew people. They're going to argue, and not even necessarily Hebrew people, but Hebrew teachers that are arguing from a scholarly perspective. It was this way, it was that way. And during ancient times, the time of antiquity, you can always find those arguments in those debates, right? My reason for sharing this thought is at True Light, we don't want to be those that regurgitate teachings of others. So, and just going by person's preference instead of saying, hey, this is what I prefer. So at this connection, we prefer to do it this way. Are we all in agreement? That's this is the way we do it versus saying everybody else is wrong because they're speaking Yiddish. Yiddish is a language, just like Hebrew is a language, just like English is a language, just like Spanish is a language. If I put C-H-I-C-O in Spanish, but you were reading it in English because you thought that C-H-I is English letters. No, it's a letter system. And that letter system is used to spell words in what? Different languages. So a B-O-Y in English and a C-H-I-C-O in English means what? No, it don't mean the same thing because one of them is not English. It's written in what appears to be English language, but it's two different words, but it's the same word. So C-H-I-C-O is El Español, using the same alphabet to spell the word for B-O-Y in El Español. So it's boy. So I'm not going to say because someone is now pronouncing something different. I mean, oh, he's speaking Yiddish. No, Yiddish is a whole nother language that uses the same alphabet. So we have to mature in our thought process and stop regurgitating things of people's preferences and just teach the truth. Because I say Elohim or Elohim, someone else says Elohim. So the one that says Elohim, that says if you say Elohim, you're not speaking Hebrew, you're speaking Yiddish, that is a lie. It's just the dialect or the pronunciation is different, but it's the same letter spelling the same thing. You have Yod, a Yod, a word for Yod in Hebrew, or Yad can be the word that means hand in Hebrew. In Yiddish, Yad means something different. You see what I'm saying? So yes, it's the same script, it's the same alphabet, but it's a different language. So what they're trying to say is, if you pronounce the words differently than they pronounce the word, if you see Hamayim, as the sister just read, and someone say Hamayam, what's the difference of Hamayim and Hamayam? The way it sounds. But it don't mean you're speaking Yiddish. If you can understand that Hamayam or Hamayim is water, then you're still reading Hebrew and you're reading what's written. It's the same language, just based upon one school of thought, level of understanding, and whether they're using modern or biblical or what they consider to be ancient. And I'm going to tell y'all, even in that, there's division in what is actually how things are pronounced in the ancient versus how it's not pronounced in the ancient. For an example, an ayin from paleo and the ancient. Some would say the ayin makes an I sound. I'm not of the school of thought that says ayin makes an I sound. It's a guru, so it's going to make a throaty sound. But ayin in Hebrew, the word ayin means I. So at some point they say, okay, ayin means I, then the ayin may make the I sound. No, ayin is an I, like your eyeball. That's what ayin is. Again, I'm not saying I'm the master in it. I'm just telling you that over studying, we have to stop saying things out of ignorance because of people's preferences and just saying, hey, let's teach the truth. And then we're going to decide as a mishpachah, how do we move and why are we doing what we do? So I'm going to go into that right now as far as the language discussion, as far as us returning to the language. Can you give me the Ecclesiastes about the power of the language being spoken at the same time? So I want to go into this as far as the dialects or the pronunciations and things like that. So over the years, and me, I do what Paul says, right? I'm all things to all people. I'm all things to all people, but I'm never going to be in sin to try to be amongst somebody. But if I'm going to someplace, this is me. If I go someplace, all praise be to the Most High, because of the wisdom that he's imparted to me from what his word says. I try to do what the word says. If I go to a congregation and their dialect is different than mine, if they say Alahayim, if I'm teaching there, I can say what? Alahayim, because I know I'm not saying anything wrong. But when I come back to my Knesset, I'm coming back speaking what we speak, because that's going to throw someone off. We're sitting here. One thing we do in our community too much is we change too much and we're confusing people. But me as a teacher, as a shepherd, and one that would go abroad and invite it to certain places, if I hear someone say the name is Yehovah, then I can say Yehovah. If they say Yahweh, I can say Yahweh. I have an issue with Yahweh. I'm just being honest. That's my in my leb, it's just I could never accept Yahweh. And part of it is because before I even knew how to speak the language, it just never resonated with me personally. And if I'm wrong, I've been asking Most High for years. If I'm wrong, please correct me, because I never want to teach people wrong. I'm telling y'all personally, for me, it was hard for me to accept Yahweh. It just didn't have what I felt like was the name of the Most High. Then when I started learning Hebrew, and then I seen how it was vowel pointed, and then I studied y'all grammar rules itself, your very own grammar rules that you teach does not have that last vowel in the name Yahweh as an E-class vowel. It's an A vowel. So how are we getting the E there when that wasn't even an E-class vowel according to? So these are the things that I experienced in coming up through the culture and learning things. But I'm just trying to say that we start to confuse people at some point. We start switching everything, and we're using so many different terms. And that is the reason why sometimes we lose people. They'd be like, you know, when I was in the church, they had God, Lord, and Jesus. I mean, they don't know what they're doing over there. We are, when we're supposed to be leading people to the Most High, sometimes we're adding too much, too fast, or we changing stuff too often that we all over the place. And so we kind of have a sporadic, ecstatic brain and mindset, instead of saying, here's where Yah has us at the moment. Here's how we're doing it for unity's sake, for a Akkad, or for oneness sake, so that you're not speaking all so many different things. So I'm just sharing that because there is a paleo form of the words, but again, the paleo script looks different than the Syrian, or what's considered the modern script. However, they do not necessarily have to be pronounced differently. The numerical value, each Hebrew letter or consonant has a numerical value. The numerical value does not change because the shape of the letter has changed over time, nor does the pronunciation of the letter change because of over time, the way things have morphed. What has happened is if one is using the Nakud system, it's going to be pronounced one way. If one is using what they consider to be the ancient system, they may pronounce it slightly different. But even in that, these modern ways we're doing things, we're making it way that's even divided. Because again, those that say they use paleo only, they may say Alahayim. If you say Elohim, Elohim, you can still understand Elohim and Alahayim is pretty much the same thing. But the point that I'm making is to be all things to all people. Yes, when we go places, if I'm going to teach someplace, I try to be as Akkad with where they are, because I never want to introduce something new to someone else's flock, to their sheep, because that brings division and confusion in the house. I'm going to tell y'all, I've been doing this for a long time. I've seen things as such as a letter on how you say Ima cause issues, based upon someone that wasn't even in the truth, that told someone they're calling you terror, because Ima means you. For somebody that don't want to accept truth, go somewhere and get somebody to tell them one little thing where they call your mom a terror. No, that's not what we call your mom, because the word for terror has the same phonetic sound almost as Ima, but it's a totally different spelling, which makes the word have a totally different numerical value, and it's a totally different word. Phonetically, it may sound close, but it's a totally different word. Just like in Hebrew, we have the word, and so help me out with this, someone. We have the word in Hebrew, malak. Then we have the word malak or malek. So one malek, you're gonna need vowel points to make the word malek. But without vowel points, you have the word malak or malak. Malak and malak is spelled exactly the same in Hebrew. So if you don't know the context of where you're reading, and if you don't know about the ancient connectors and how a word was pronounced, or if you don't know the modern vowel points of how it's vowel pointed, malak and malak sounds almost exactly the same because they're spelled exactly the same. But can someone tell me the difference between malak and malak? Amalek. One is messenger and one is king. But phonetically, depending on one's understanding, if they just pronounce it in reading, not knowing the grammar rules, or not knowing from the ancient how the connectors connect the word, or from the Martes Lexonis, which is still vowels that was used, but you know which letters to change the vowels. If we don't know these things, then we're going to start just changing things and saying, Y'all are right and we're wrong and y'all are speaking Yiddish. So in short term, in this culture study, I just don't want us to develop that mindset of always judging others where they're at. I came through the transitional period. And so I was a student at one point. I was being taught at one point. But then when I started to read and study for myself, I seen that my teachers was in error with certain things that they taught me. You know, just like when I first read the word in Hebrew for myself, worst thing you do, that's why I say, hey, for a black person, put it in the book. Because they don't read, you can get by on them. But if they learn to read, boy, they can catch up to speed. So I remember I read in the chapter that Batsion was just reading, and I read in the ancient dialect without using the Nakud system, Bara Shayaf, which is Bereshit, Bara Shayaf, Bara Allahayim, Allahayim. So as Batsion said, this is mighty ones or the mightiest of mighty ones because of his majesty, right? So then I already knew that the yum on the end makes something plural. So if I take the yum off, then I have Allah. Why are they around here talking about the Muslims using Allah when it's right here in Hebrew? When you start reading for yourself, you start to see these things. And then over the years, you will grow in your understanding. You say, we are making divisions where divisions don't even exist. We're making divisions where division don't exist. So that's why in this culture portion, when me and Zakane is trying to bring forth the language, and we get more into the studies, there will be people that speak different dialects. We're going to discuss later today about some preferred terms that we utilize here at our assembly. But one thing is, when you telling people to buy books, right? When I'm reading from my KJV Bible, and I've did this in front of people many times, and I sit there and be teaching, and I'll say, and Yah said, and Adonai, or whatever the case may be, I will use the Hebrew terms, and then a person will ask me that's new to the Knesset, where can I get a Bible like you have so that I can have the words there? And I'm like, I'm reading from the same Bible you're reading from. I have just studied enough to know that when it's written a certain way, I know what's written there in Hebrew. So I automatically, my mind knows to now, because I don't accept those terms anymore, I now use the term that would be written in Greek, right? So, but they're thinking I'm reading from a different Bible. But now when I am reading from a Hebrew Bible, so then when you do finally tell them, go get this version of the Bible, and they go get a Hebrew Bible, and it has some of these Hebrew terms in it, and then you now come back after telling them to buy a book, and you come back and switch all the terms, and it don't even line up with the book that you told them to buy. Do y'all see the confusion that we create sometimes? Sometimes the word of the Most, I said, how long will you wrestle between two opinions? So culturally, we understand that this is Hebrew that we're speaking. There are different pronunciations or dialects. As Zakane Yaquab, he goes more into the interpolations and dialects, and he's explaining those things, you know, because, you know, Zakane teach on that scholarly level. I'm just trying to give y'all some of the facts real quick. And Zakane to come behind me, he gonna fill in that stuff and make you really understand it. But the point I'm making is so that whole you're speaking Yiddish thing, if you come from a school of thought that teaches those things, lose that thought process. Study to show yourself approved. Why? Because culturally, we are supposed to be a light also. That's part of our culture, to be a light. And what we're doing is we're causing darkness, we're causing confusion, while trying to bring people into oneness of the Most High. We're the ones that's creating a division by all these words and all these ways of teaching something based upon our preference. So that is a part of the culture study I want to go into with us for today, that there are different dialects, but don't let someone make you feel like their dialect trumps your dialect. And at some point you have to say, as a Knesset, we're speaking this way. So real quick, I want to give one more example, and we'll be talking on this again later. So I'm going to go to, is my screen share still up or is it off? My screen share's off?
It's off.
It's all.
Okay. All right.
Shabbat.
Give me one moment. All right. And real quick, I'm going to the book of Tehillim, chapter 113, just real quick, just for an example. One of the Hebrew readers, would y'all read verse 1 for me? I'm in Psalms 113. I want you to read verse 1. Shaquan, do you want to come read? See it from your phone. You can't find it. But
Yeah.
you can't do it. Batsion, would you read for me?
Cain. Hallelujah.
Why did you
Hallelujah.
say that? Why did you say that?
Oh, have it. Hallelujah.
No. I'm just asking you. Why did you say it like that?
Just have it. Because it says, oh, you want me to, okay, so ha,
Mhm.
and that should be when there's a lamet with that sheva, it's kind of like a syllable, so it'll be hal, and then lu, so that was that sharuk, right? Of I forget what it's called. The vav, I forget. My dad's gonna get on me, but lu, so that'd be hal, lu, and then the next word is ya.
So what you see is the yah is not actually one part of that word as they have it in English, but this word here is telling us to do something. I'm going to highlight this word for a moment. And this word is telling you to shine, to praise, to boast, to be boastful. So this word here is telling you to praise Yah. So when we've seen it in English where we have hallelujah, one of the things that I want to bring out also is if a person does not use the vowel points, they may pronounce this differently than someone using the vowel points. So we know that there's rules for using shiwa in certain things. So some may say hallelujah, or you can say hallelujah, because this is saying instead of the long form. So the grammar rules is trying to tell you how to pronounce it. But whether you say hallelujah, hallelujah, it's written there. You know, these are things that's written. And so now we start to have a whole lot of forms. And I'm going to say, and this is no offense to anyone, but I'm going to tell you what I don't see written there. Hallel-yah. Hallel-yah is not written there. And in our community, we hear a lot of Hallel-yah. Hallel is not written here. So then once we go someplace, and we are people that when we go and we hear someplace, we just grab it and we just keep picking up everything that we, Hallel is not written here. It's not. And then if we go into the root, if going into this word halal, right? The root word halal from this without the vowel point, which is halal, we read what halal actually means, but now you see here, halal. So as I said, at the root form, there is an A class. So we have halal. So you hear somebody say halal yah, they're saying halal yah, they're still trying to say praise yah with the way it would be from the root form halal yah. So those that don't use the vowel point system, they're using the straight wrong way, then they say halal yah, halal yah. The reason why they say that because at the root, it is halal. Halal is not written there even with the vowel points. So when we say halal yah, that is something that we have gravitated to using. That's not written there. Now, at another point, I'll go into more about the word Hallel when it talks about the one that was a messenger of light who could sing, had this beautiful, you know, the story behind a fallen one that came to the earth. That was one that was used to be of praise. One of the names that you call him is Hallel. And I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad. I'm just saying that over time you see these things, but when we go back, and this is the reason why we study in the language, and based upon where you're learning from, you're going to learn all these things. So again, why are we using certain dialects, why we teach? So if we're teaching this here, and we're learning to read it this way, and we're going to teach two dialects. We're going to use what we consider the more ancient dialect, and we're going to be going into the Paleo, as well as what's considered the modern or biblical script. Those are the two dialects we will be using here at True Light, but we're going to be explaining them along the way because we're picking up things from all over the place, and it's going to cause division. And then sometimes what you don't even know is when people actually know something, as we read last night about those guys when they was going to go judge them because they was building an altar, there was trouble in their ruach. Sometimes when people know stuff and they know what it actually means, it troubles us in our ruach sometimes. Hearing stuff that's just like, I just can't say that. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of, you know, but as Paul being all things to all people, we understand that we're mispronouncing things and some things is not what it used to be. And listen, I've done it, you know, I've done it. You go place and you adapt to what's being done to be a part of someplace, right? But what I'm saying is, as at our assembly, we want to try to teach truth, and we also want to teach things that will not run people away. Sometimes we are so foreign when people come. You got people coming in from the church. There's still some things the church had right. They said hallelujah. If we start saying things so many different ways, they can't even identify that you're saying something that they did have right. You can use that as a teaching point. So that's why y'all hear me the majority of the time, I still say hallelujah. you know, because they can still identify that. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes we get so, as Elder Willow would say, so heavily bound, we know earthly good. So that's our culture portion for the day, just on the language portion. And I want to go to another script just for another part of another part of this portion, and then I'll be closing out. We just went into our new moon observance, and there was good questions asked. Is the sister on before I go into this? You said no? Okay, we're gonna table this. Sister's not on. I don't want to go into something that someone asked and they're not on. So we'll go into that at another point. I may bring it out the second portion. So at this time, I'm going to yield on the culture portion. But again, before we yield on the culture portion, another reason why we are trying to study this language. So he's going to read from the book of Sirach, the prologue. Is that Sirach? Mm-hmm. He's reading from the prologue of Sirach. Go ahead, Adon.
This will be the second paragraph. In the prologue, he says, whereas many and great things have been delivered unto us by the law and the prophets, and by others that have followed their steps, for the which things Israel ought to be commended for learning and wisdom, and whereof not only the readers must needs become skillful themselves, but also they that desire to learn be able to profit them which are without.
So the readers must become skillful themselves, and they didn't want to learn so they can be profitable also for themselves. Continue to read.
Both by speaking and writing.
Both by what?
Speaking
Both
and
by
writing.
Speaking and writing. Continue to read.
My grandfather Al-Shad, when he had much given himself to the reading of the law and the prophets and other books of our fathers, and had gotten therein good judgment, was drawn on also himself to write something pertaining to wisdom, to learning and wisdom, to the intent that those which are desirous to learn and are addicted to these things might profit much more in living according to the law.
So now this was the man that was wanting to learn. He was wanting to learn from the laws. He was learning from the law. And then he wanted to teach something. He wanted to write something that would aid others who were addicted. And I used this term before to someone who took offense to it. Addicted is just a word that's just, you're addicted to something. Now, if we say you're addicted to drugs, then yeah, be mad at me if I'm saying you're a drug addict. But if I say you're addicted to learning, that's not a negative thing, you know. He said he wanted to write something for those who are addicted to learn. I mean, I want to learn more. I want to increase my understanding. I really want to get toward for myself. And again, like I said, so we do have to be patient with one another, you know, and understand that sometimes we offend one another, just not even understanding. So lack of understanding can cause an offense. So someone was offended because I try to use them and compliment them because they were an addict, you know. So Batsion, don't take no offense to this, because this happened many years ago in the past. But Batsion is one of those ones that's addicted to learning. That's why she said, Moreh, like, could you kind of mix it up sometime? Like, instead of just reading the same thing, she likes to challenge herself. So she's addicted to learning. She wants to learn the language. She wants to get it. She's addicted to learning. That's not a negative thing. In the text, it's used as a positive. Continue to read.
Wherefore, let me entreat you to read it with favor and attention, and to pardon us, wherein we may seem to come short of some words which we have labored to interpret.
So let me let you know that there's going to be some words that we try to impart that we even ourselves, we come short of some words that we're laboring to interpret. So you heard Batsion when she was reading E-Read today, she was reading the word and she said, I could guess it, but I don't know that word. But you see how many words she did know? Her vocabulary was growing. She was able to parse it out. She was able to explain the prefixes and suffixes. She did a very good job with that. But then she got the words that she what? I don't quite get it. I'm short some words. Continue to read.
For the same things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another tongue have not the same force in them. And not only these things, but the law itself and the prophets.
So it's saying, but words uttered in another language does not have the same force or the same authority, or the same power as words uttered in what? In the Hebrew tongue. And what's that last little part he said? And also the what?
And not only these things, but the law itself.
And not only these things, but the law itself. So reading the law in English and reading the law from a Hebrew mindset, it's more concrete. You get more out of it. You understand it more. You'll be able to see when you start going to reading the Hebrew and you think from a Hebrew mindset and a Hebrew thought, how did the ancients view this? The way we believe the law is done away with, the ancients would never believe the law was done away because they were reading Hebrew. They know what it said. They know what was exactly there. They know the function of it. So they wouldn't allow someone to come with a bastardized tongue, speaking to them some words that they would not even receive that way, because I understand what it says in Hebrew, and all this abstract way of you now wanting to say we can do things our own way. From our thought process, we can't even think like that. We can't even think like that. So we're reading the Torah in its language. We're getting the we're understanding it from what's actually written in the language. Continue to read.
And the prophets and the rest of the books have no small difference when they are spoken in their own language.
So, and the law and the prophets and any other books that's written in the Tanakh have no what? No small difference when they're written what? When they're read and interpreted from what? From the Hebrew tongue. Read on.
From the 30th year coming into Egypt, when Erbagetes, the king, was
So we're gonna drop that.
Okay.
That's the Decalogue of Sirach. So if you want to go read it for yourself on your own reading times, that's the Decalogue, just showing that these people were laboring to try to understand things. And do know that all Israel did not always obtain or retain the Hebrew tongue. Once you start getting outside of your land and now you're scattered and you're in a diaspora, you went into captivities. We've already read in the book of Daniel. What did they do in the book of Daniel? They switched their language. So now if you're one that does not continue to hold on to your heritage, your culture, and you just start using another language all the time, one thing I used to ask, and I mean, Abadal probably can explain it more so because they do it. They are bilingual. You know, they speak more than one language. And you want to understand is how is it that their children come up speaking English and Spanish? Well, one of the things that I found is sometimes in the home that when we're out amongst English speaking people, then we're going to speak English because y'all speak English. But in the house, it's kind of a rule. In the house, we speak El Español because we're not going to be speaking English all the time. Like our native tongue is El Español. So if there's no English speaker around, and this is going to tie into the next part of the lesson at some point, if there's no English speaker around, why do we have to speak English in the house and we speak El Español? That's our language. That's where we come from. We here from Cuba. We're going to stay connected to our heritage. If they get away from it, they never taught their children and they didn't speak it, they don't continue to speak it, then all of a sudden they will become totally English speakers and they will not retain as much of their culture, their heritage, and won't even understand and be able to read it as fluently as they do because they would have got so acclimated to what? Doing English. We are born into not ever knowing Hebrew. We've been speaking a language that we been born into for a long time. So when we go back, we're going to do the same thing he was doing. We are laboring to get back, and there are going to be some words that we're short of understanding, but those words that we do know is going to actually increase our understanding. And then the Creator, in doing his time, he will give us more of an understanding. So again, to those who may feel like, man, why we got to go into this language study? Because the language is going to be a big part is now for maturity's sake. It's kind of like as a child, when you didn't want vegetables, but you wanted the cheese pizza, or you want the chicken nuggets and things like that. But if it's going to be vegetable night, you didn't want the veggies. It is time for us to get the veggies because that's the nutrients. So as a mishpachah, we want to put much more time and effort into the study of the language because we've read, some of us have been together so long as a mishpachah, we've read through the Bible several times together now. But for us to start getting more, we need to be doing, because I'm edifying it to you from an Hebraic mindset. But if you can read it for yourself from that same mindset, you can go home and you can enjoy it even more yourself. So we have to start doing this as a mishpachah. And I'm going to tell you, mishpachah, when you are not able to teach it in class and you're not able to read it in class, then you do start to diminish the gift of you retaining the language yourself. I've been there, done that, and I don't want to fall back into totally losing it again. So I would like for us to get to the point where a part of our service, we can go in between Hebrew and English because there will be people in the room that can interpret exactly what's being said because y'all have been studying, and therefore we can read from the Torah and the Tanakh in its actual tongue, but we will always edify in English. So with that, I'm going to yield the floor now to Don Kanakya. I pray and hope everyone got some understanding from that portion and the reason why we are laboring to study the Hebrew. We're laboring to study the Hebrew. Y'all please give Batsion and Zamiria another hand because they read very well. They read very well. And I'm going to tell you, them reading well like that does one of two things. One of two things, encourages or discourages. The way they read today encourages or discourages. It should encourage you. So the discouragement should be, I hope Moreh don't call on me after that. But the encouragement should be, man, when Moreh do call on me, I want to be able to read like that. So I need to get to it. I need to start practicing it. We need to get that, especially, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Men, we're not knocking it. We're not knocking it. It's not a competition. It is not a competition. But we want to know why the Christian church is filled with women, because women show up. We want to know why they end up being in these positions. They showed up when the men wasn't showing up. Then we come on the Hebrew side. Men, we got to step our game up because we should be reading more fluently than the women because we're supposed to be the what? If we're in a place where we are now in a rightful place where the men are the teachers, even though women do teach certain things also in certain classes, right? But men are the priesthood. When you actually look what Torah says, then we need to be stepping our game up so that we don't have to be like, boy, I hope Moreh don't call me after that. We have to get there. This is not a knock. This is also encouragement, you know, and that's why it also says have a Kodash Mikra. Because when you just home by yourself and you don't never fellowship with anybody, you don't know how much you have not grown until you've seen how much someone else has grown. You be like, goodness, they know more than me now. Or they're excelling me. And that should encourage you to what? To want to do more. So that's why the Most High also said, have a Kodash Mikra or holy convocation, because it increases you or it should encourage you to want to do more. So with that, I give all praise, all honor, all esteem to the Most High Yah. May the Most High Yah's name be esteemed always and forevermore. Hallelujah. Now yielding the floor to Don Kanaka for the 2-minute warning.